This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Your hosts are Seth Jacobson and Patrick Heiler.
Let's see, 43 starts on 646.
And so this is just a continuation of the previous chapter. It's basically a break in the middle of a scene.
Yeah.
We sort of left on a cliffhanger of Loial saying, if we enter the ways, we will all die or be swallowed by the shadow. And then chapter 41 rolls around.
Chapter 43?
Yeah, 43. I said 41, didn't I?
I think so.
Yeah.
Chapter 43, Decisions and Apparitions, and the symbol is the Dragon Fang. We open with Loial being abashed by his outburst. Why? Rand asks at last. Why would we die? What are the ways? And Loial breaks into this long explanation, giving like some of the rough background of what the ways are, when they were built. Talks about Male Aes Sedai during the breaking and after, and the talismans of growing and stuff. And this is like a couple of page explanation. I'm not sure how much you want to get into it, but...
We talk a little bit about it. I think we've brought up the ways before. They were gifted to the Ogier by the men they gave shelter to during the breaking.
Yeah, and Loial says pretty directly that, like, as thanks, these Male Aes Sedai created what are basically ter'angreal, but they're activated by tree singing rather than channeling.
Right, because we've seen a bunch of ter'angreal that can be activated through different ways other than channeling.
Oh, that's true. I guess just the presence of a person sometimes.
Exactly, or just holding it or wearing it.
Yeah.
Oftentimes will activate it. So these are specifically designed for the Ogier by the Male Aes Sedai. And we actually see one of those ter'angreal later.
That's right. Avienda and Elaine find it in one of the chapters where they like run into the kin.
It's in the stash with the Bowl of Winds.
The huge storeroom.
Yeah, huge storeroom.
Oh, geez. Is that Ibudar?
Yes.
God, nice.
You know, she's just sorting through all of these ter'angreal, and she finds one, and it's described as a root-like carving, and it's like a blue carving of seemingly random lines. It feels like stone, but it doesn't look like it was carved. And then Avienda confirms it's for growing something if the correct song is sung to it. Not sure what, not trees. And so we think that very much is one of the ter'angreal growing the Ogier have.
Probably.
And so this was great. For 2,000 years, they got to use these ways, and they grew them between their steadings. They grew them to all the groves that they created. Yeah. And that's why they're in all the major cities. And at some point during the Trolloc Wars, which was about 1,000 years ago, they got dark. They became corrupted.
That's right. Loial describes a slow process. Let's see here. Yeah, I have in my notes, almost 2,000 years passed with the ways remaining functional, but during the War of the 100 Years, the ways began to change. And at first, the sunlight inside them began to just dim, and then the trees and plants inside stopped bearing fruit, almost like turned winter, and then everything died and turned dark.
And we see that things sort of start to crumble and decay. Decay is not the right word. I'd say crumble is the better word. You get these like pitted, flaky. I don't know if you've ever been on like a poorly maintained or poorly made concrete bridge where the concrete's sort of falling apart. Mm-hmm. And like you can if you kind of twist your foot, little flakes of concrete sort of come off.
Totally.
That's what I think of when I think of the bridges in the ways.
I like that. And we see this a good amount later with other things that the Dark One kind of touches. I mean, we see it with like spoiled food, but I guess I'm mainly thinking of the seals.
Sure. Anything the Dark One touches decays and ages and breaks down. And that's what his taint does. You know, it breaks down the barriers in the mind, breaks down the seals, it breaks down the ways.
Yeah.
And because he's trying to break down the pattern.
I think the next thing Loial mentions is that shortly after the ways became dark, Ogier began to fear traveling inside them when some emerged insane and afraid of the sound of wind. And this is the birth of Mashin Shin, I guess.
I wonder if Ishmael had anything to do with that during the Trolloc Wars. I don't think so.
I kind of suspect that Black Aja, Ishmael, or something. Because why then? And, it wasn't sudden, but why would they remain pristine and then
for 2,000
for so
years?
long?
Yeah. They were good and functional for 2,000 years. That's a long time. That's one of the new pieces of information that I hadn't realized. I was thinking that they grew them, and then, maybe a couple hundred years later, they were all corrupted.
Yeah.
And they've been corrupted this whole time. But they were functioning for a very long time.
I looked around a little, and nobody can really pin down the exact reason. There's just a lot of, what do you call it?
Speculation.
Yeah, speculation.
I mean, my assumption is that it's what Loial says is it's the taint of the one power, the male side of the one power that slowly seeped into the ways. But I cannot think of any other examples where something is made by a male channeler with the taint and then it's affected.
Yeah.
The channeler is always affected, but very rarely what they do. Now, of course, it may take 2,000 years. The birth of Ma Xin is a very opaque event. We know the ways are based a little bit on the portal stone worlds.
Yeah.
That it may be also related to skimming, I think.
That's the way I kind of see it. I think they were created by Aes Sedai who had been studying the portal stones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a group of them, apparently.
And we know that when you get into the ways, time does move differently.
Yeah.
They spend, from their perspective, a couple of days in there, but they're probably moving at like twice the speed. So maybe it's only one day outside. They're able to travel all that way.
Yeah, I see it as a lot like skimming.
Right. Yeah, just way slower because you don't have a platform flying through space. You actually have to walk the distance.
Yeah. When I imagine it, I imagine the place where you skim through is the place, or much like the place where the ways grow. This open black space, or this like nothing between realities.
Right. And that if you jumped off one of the bridges in the ways, you'd end up in the same place where if you fell off a platform while skimming.
Yeah.
Just falling forever.
Into nothing.
Yeah.
Forever. That's just kind of terrifying.
It's what the pattern exists inside of, and you're sort of jumping between the weaves of the pattern.
Yeah.
And you're in that empty space in between. And, the ways become super important because they get used by the Trollocs to move around. A lot of, when Trollocs mysteriously appear in the Southlands, like when they appear in the Two Rivers.
Uh-huh.
And, I think we talked about that earlier when Land speculates, well, how did they get them down here without half the kingdoms being up in alarm? It's because they were bringing them through the ways.
And people have more or less forgotten about the ways. After Ma Xin was discovered, or evidence of it, Loial says that the Ogier elders closed the ways, or stopped allowing people to travel through them. And I think just nobody really tries anymore.
But it makes sense that Ishmael would know about them because he's been out when they were active and being used.
Yeah.
And so he's using them to ship Trollocs all over the place. And who cares if a couple of them go mad and get consumed by the black wind?
Right.
They're just Trollocs.
There's tons of them.
And you have anything more to say about the ways in particular?
Not really. Yeah, I have like a little description of Ma Xin, but I think we kind of already went over it. It's, like you said, a really opaque thing that there's just isn't very much to say about it, other than that it's a terrifying wind made of darkness that doesn't seem to think or be sentient at all. It just sort of hunts and consumes.
And yet, when it touches Fain, it does seem to gain some sort of sentience, or at least a voice and a purpose.
I wonder if that could be due to exposure to Fain.
But, once Fain makes contact with the Black Wind, which he does here, because he follows the group into the ways to Faldara.
That's right.
And there he encounters the Black Wind. And from thereafter, the Black Wind picks up his need to follow Rand. And I'm not sure if he directs it to do that.
Or if it just kind of absorbs or is impressed upon by the superior darkness, or the more thorough darkness that is Padan Fain.
Yeah. He's a crazy mix of, the Dark One, Mash Shadar, and I wonder about the Black Wind, if that affected him. Do you think he changed afterwards?
I don't know.
I'm curious to really examine that chapter where Moiraine interviews him.
I've heard people talk about that moment as like when Padan Fain becomes whatever he is.
Or, yeah, the next incarnation.
I'm not sure that that's true exactly, although I don't really know how much information there actually is to say for sure, like exactly what we can kind of infer.
I mean, I
things.
think he's still fighting between Fain and Mordeth when he has the horn and he's running away, because he does all those direction changes.
Oh, right. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Until he finally nails the half man to a barn door.
Yep.
And that seems like the final.
I think that's when he finally comes together as one whole, insane being and becomes not Padan Fain and Mordeth, but Ordeath.
I like it when things are wrapped up neatly anyway.
And, not saying his accents are all over the place. He's still a little crazy, but at least he has a purpose.
Yeah.
I notice at that point he no longer has to chase Rand. He can make Rand come to him. In some ways, the bonding of the two halves allow him to break the compulsion to follow the boys.
Makes sense.
But he's still able to tell where they are. In the Eye of the World, he was literally like unable to go back and get his cart. He had to follow the boys.
Yeah.
The compulsion was so great he couldn't even stop to get his stuff. I wanted to ask you about this where Moiraine talks about the Ogier sanctuary prolonging the breaking.
Yeah.
She thinks that it kept the world from breaking open.
Implies that the Blue Aja is like part of that thought line. It's kind of hard to say which it could really be. I mean, I guess nobody knows.
I do think that if all of the damage that caused the breaking had been released in a shorter period of time, the world would have just cracked open like an egg.
Yeah. It seems like the Aes Sedai that sheltered in Steadings were able to kind of bring together some artifacts and create the ways, and there was still relatively productive for a period of time, or at least probably in trying to combat whatever was happening outside, and possibly helped preserve the Ogier. It seems like the Ogier really benefited from having those male Aes Sedai stay with them.
Yeah, I imagine the ways were very convenient for the Ogier for a long time.
Yeah.
And one thing I got from reading this is that the Ogier never 100% lost the steading, but they would occasionally they'd either be pushed away from them due to, human activity or geological activity, and then be unable to find them again. But that at no point were all of the steading all lost to all Ogier.
Yeah, there's a part where he talks about it a little, but he says something like, even the ones that remained in the steading, or like the Ogier that never lost the steading. Like the very first thing I had highlighted in the chapter is that, we've talked about this before, there's this little scene in the beginning where this cat is like really fond of Moiraine, and it kind of makes an appearance throughout this conversation, but it's like rubbing up against Moiraine this whole time.
Yeah, that's the whole cats like female channelers and don't like male channelers, and dogs are the opposite.
Yeah.
So at this point, I think Moiraine has to convince Loial to let them use the ways. And so she lays out the choices that they have, which are, we've got the White Cloaks who are about to get us, and also, which she doesn't say, Elida's coming for them as well.
Yeah.
And then outside, you've got the Dark amassing to raid the city.
I hadn't even really considered Elida. I mean, I guess what I hadn't considered that Moiraine really can't afford to be found out by anyone other than people in her own Aja. And even those, she can't actually tell the straight up truth.
No, and I mean, Elida's red. I think that's number one on the list, is she knows she's got a male channel on her hands. And if Elida, the red, finds him, he's getting put in a box.
Yeah.
Figuratively or literally.
Probably literally.
No, that's later.
The box.
Not the box. What's in the box? Rand.
And Moiraine gives this pretty good speech. I had a couple of good quotes. The greater part of the world does not even know yet. and most of the few who do fight skirmishes and believe they are battles, while the world refuses to believe the Dark One may be on the brink of victory. And then later at the bottom of the page, where she gives the kind of rousing, one thing we can do, we can try. What seems like chance is often the pattern. 3 threads have come together here, each giving a warning. The eye, it cannot be chance. It is the pattern. And you are here, where the danger is known. You can step aside and perhaps doom the world. Running, hiding, will not save you from the weaving of the pattern. And she goes on and kind of ends with saying, and you may save the world from the shadow. The choice is yours. I cannot make you go. I'll go, Rand said, trying to sound resolute.
And this really is a point where the Dark One is on the verge of winning. He has amassed a huge army of Trollocs, and there is not nearly the unification among the
nations and armies. Yeah.
There's no army that's
like
capable
zero.
of stopping them. The Borderlander armies are clearly about to get just destroyed in the gap, in Tarwin's Gap. And once the Trolloc army has secured the gap, they're just going to pour down into the rest of Westland.
And then we kind of see the party, like, one by one start agreeing to go.
Moiraine says she's been to the Eye before.
Yeah.
What was she doing there?
I don't know. She probably left the White Tower after hearing the foretelling and went to ask the Green Man about, or went to talk to the Green Man about her destiny.
That makes sense.
Right?
Well, it's all based on need.
Yeah. And the need is great.
The need is great. There is no greater need.
I'm looking around online to see what the theories are.
I'm just stealing quotes out of Discord. I think I did a Google search like last week looking for an answer for that and wasn't able to find anything.
Yeah.
Nothing definitive. But it would make sense that, she had this foretelling. She's looking for him. Lan went with her, though, right?
I believe so. It would have been around that time. It would have made sense if they met around that time.
It's not in New Spring.
No.
Unless I'm completely forgetting about that scene.
But I don't know if her first visit with the Green Man is before or after the New Spring. I guess it would have to.
If Lan was with her, it would have to be after.
Yeah. The boys agree. Egwene agrees and basically says that there's no way she would be left behind. And so Nynaeve is begrudgingly like, okay, well, I guess I'll go. Loial is the last. And he just says, yes, well, the Green Man, the Eye of the World, they're mentioned in the books, of course. But I don't think any Ogier has actually seen them in, quite a long time, I suppose. But must it be the ways? Moiraine nodded, and his long eyebrows sagged till the ends brushed his cheeks. Well then, I suppose I must guide you. Elder Hammond would say it's no less than I deserve for being so hasty all the time. And I liked this little line from Moiraine. Our choices are made then, Moiraine said. And now that they are made, we must decide what to do about them, and how. Cue planning montage. Which is pretty much like the next couple of pages where, like, Nynaeve is making lists of things that they'll need, and they send Master Gil, or they give Master Gil a list of things and ask them to collect it, but like before dawn, and he agrees to do that.
Yeah, there's some good interaction here between like Rand and Egwene and Perrin.
Yeah.
Just how Perrin he's sort of resigned. He's been fighting for a long time and then resigned. That to me is just that fight against admitting that the wolf is part of him. And now he's just like, he's accepting it, that there's nothing he can do to change that.
Yeah, he's like really broody throughout the chapter.
And then I like the interaction between Rand and Egwene where she's, he's basically saying, you can't come because I need to protect you. And there's that running gag of Rand needs to talk to Perrin because he's good at dealing with women.
Egwene asks who Elaine is, and Rand says, the daughter heir to the throne of Andor, and she just yells at him and says, if you can't be serious for more than a minute, Rand al'Thor, I do not want to talk to you. Incredulous, he watched her stiff back return to the table. It's one of these ridiculous misunderstanding scenes.
Right. He's trying to be honest, and she thinks he's mocking her, and
yeah,
this
stuff happens over and over throughout the series.
Well, and it sort of starts off with them like being all understanding, and him being like, I want to protect you, and her being like, oh, no. But she doesn't really yell at him about that, and then like he she thinks he turns around and like starts mocking her and being like, "I'm with the daughter heir."
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. And there's also something about Min here too.
Yeah, there's a sort of weird back and forth where, yeah, Noble Fiend says children in love. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Yeah, and we've totally talked about this stuff a bunch before, but this goes on for a little while longer. I feel like while I was reading it, my eyes kind of glazed over, and I just powered through to the interesting parts. And like I wish Perrin, I need to talk to Perrin. He knows about girls, and there's like that circular thing that's always happened. Matt's like, Rand is great with women.
I mean, I guess they're all better with women than I am. That's for sure.
Yeah, they come out doing just fine.
Yeah,
Rand has 3 wives 2 years from now, so I guess he is the best or the worst, depending on how you.
So then they just go to bed, and we have a dream sequence, right?
Yeah, there's a little part where Rand can feel the wrongness from the dagger under Matt's pillow.
Oh, that's right.
That I thought was a little interesting. That Rand can feel the pulsing evil.
Didn't Moiraine seal it up a little bit?
Yeah.
That's funny. I thought she had it contained.
Well, I think Rand's sensitive at this point. He's channeled a few times. He's kind of opened up to that sort of thing. That's the way I saw it anyway.
So we're entering a Dreamshard.
And it's this kind of typical setting where there's like the pitted stone balconies and Rand is walking through, and there are these weird lanterns that he describes as being so black that they shine, or so dark that they're light. It's bizarre. It's kind of unimaginable.
Ishmael's places also always have like a fire that gives off no heat, and usually some sort of human face being tortured. But he's basically trying to identify which of the 3 boys is which. Because he, as far as I can tell, Ishmael can get into their dreams. And I'm assuming he's doing it by going into that dark space between Teleron Riyadh on the edge of World of Dreams with all the bright stars.
Right.
And he's been able to identify the 3 dreams of the...
Or find them and pull them into his Dreamshard.
But he doesn't know which one is which.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dreamshards are definitely different than Teleron Riyadh. Basically, they're little bubbles of reality that are created in Teleron Riyadh that are actually separate from it, and dreamers can create them.
Right.
And that lets them...
It's kind of separated but a part of, so you can change the rules or make something your own.
Basically, you're in more complete control.
And it looks like a lot of these dream shards are in Shale Ghoul somewhere, or like in the Valley of Thakandar, or where the weird colored sky with clouds streaking by too fast, and we see those descriptions later.
I always think that's...
Or he's just...
his recreation of it.
Yeah.
I don't think they're actually in Shale Ghoul, because I think he's in his own little reality.
Yeah.
All the other Forsaken sort of establish their homes somewhere in the world. He basically lives outside of reality.
Maybe it's part of the reason he's so crazy. He is a talented dreamer.
He is. He's a very talented dreamer. He's one of the only male dreamers.
And isn't Lanfear also
Yes.
a dreamer?
And obviously Moghedien.
I was just putting together that episode on the Forsaken, and I have this written down somewhere, but I'm not pulling it up right now.
I'm starting to get excited about those episodes.
Yeah? I can show you some of the stuff that, like, email it to you or something. This Friday and Saturday, I'm going to sit down and work on some stuff again. I've been kind of, like, picking away at, so far, Magic Systems is getting pretty robust. Heroes in the Horns, like, meh. Like, there's not as much information as I'd really like. It's a great opportunity to talk about, like, Geidel Kane, Birgitta, and
you got Arthur
Hawkwing.
Yeah.
And those are like the only heroes we really know very much about. Otherwise, there'll be like a few quotes from Tom's stories or something. And the Horn is like kind of equally mysterious.
Maybe we can combine those two.
We can figure something out. We could probably make an episode out of it.
Go together.
Yeah.
And then you've also got, we can talk about Noel and how he becomes a hero. Can talk about why they call him Lewis Theron. You should send me your notes so I can.
Sure. Tomorrow and the next day, I'm going to be sitting in a coffee shop working on this.
I also am seriously considering making those Patreon only episodes.
I like that idea. I saw some people talking about it a few hours ago on Discord.
Oh, I haven't scrolled back up.
I think it was like John explaining to someone that there aren't like patron only content, but we should do that.
Yeah. I'd love to have those sort of special episodes that we were sort of thinking about doing between the books, but if we just made those patron only. But that would be, just as another incentive to bring people into donating.
Yeah. Jonathan Winter is saying, I'd love to see a metaphysics spiritual special episode, or like spirituality special episode.
Yeah, I've seen you guys put some stuff in the Discord chat, but I definitely am going to steal ideas from there.
Oh, I already have.
Yeah. We're writing them down.
Someone mentioned the Forsaken like last week, and I started making that because that's a great episode.
Yeah.
But also, originally when we talked about doing the magic system episode, we talked about doing like the wheel, the pattern, the magic system. It's gonna be a huge episode if we do that. We could probably cut that into 2.
Sure.
I was thinking, because just going over like side in, side R, how to control it, people who can sense it, and then true power, and then the other types of magic like tree singing, which we don't know that much about, but
right. But we should mention
there's some other tidbits. Like I think that makes an hour easily. I love this stuff. But in the channeling episode, I did put a little part about the different types of meditation. That's something we don't talk about that much, but that's totally kind of plays into the spirituality.
The void and the flame, the rosebud, that sort of thing. So this is where we get the 3 little figures, one representing each of the 3 boys.
Yeah, Rand sees that, and he also notices that his reflection is a blur. And I think this is the kind of moment where he realizes that Ishamael doesn't know who each one is.
Right. He hasn't he hasn't put the face to the dream at this point. And so he's sort of pulling them in and giving them just an implicit choice, saying like, there's one of you with a wolf, one of you with a dagger, and one of you with a sword.
Yeah.
Which also indicates that he knows an awful lot about them, even though he doesn't know which is which. He understands about the wolf bond. He understands the role the ruby dagger is playing.
We don't, I think, ever see the dreams from Matt's perspective.
No, only ever Rand's.
And Perrin's. A little bit. Where he at least mentions, or like, yeah, there's at least one dream we've seen from Perrin's perspective where he is in the 2 rivers and he's like sitting in Mistress Luhan's kitchen and there's a wolf next to him.
That's right. Back when he's with
So Ishmael knows that one has a wolf.
Mm-hmm.
One has the sword.
The Heron Mark sword.
How does he know that?
I mean, I assume his dark friends have seen him. I mean, that's what they're searching for.
Yeah, the dark friends definitely know.
The Fades were looking for it, so the Fades know.
Yeah.
Ishmael knows.
We don't know about Matt and the dagger, but we can kind of extrapolate that he might be waving it at Belzamon in his dreams, or...
Well, Millie Skane was threatened with it.
All right.
And she may have
There's another connection.
Yep.
But Ishmael still doesn't know who's who, just that there are 3, and this is what they look like. But
yeah, up until now, when they go and pick up their figures, and he's like, "Oh, so that's the one. You're that one."
Gives his typical speech. The struggle has gone on since the moment of creation. You'll lose eventually.
I think there's a little bit of him being insane. I think this speech is a mixture of lies and truth. And
it is. He does that.
Yeah. He's not necessarily being honest about having won. And he also is confusing himself with the Dark One in this speech.
Yeah, and sometimes I feel like he's just trying to confuse Rand. Part of his speech, he says, "For 2,000 years the Black Ogier have dwelt among the others, unseen in the shadows, perhaps even those who claim to help you." And he's just like trying to sow seeds of doubt and mistrust.
I mean, he is right about the Black Ogier. I mean, he's been pulling the strings on them for 2,000 years.
Yeah.
That's truth.
I'm sticking with that theory on the ways. Especially after he's saying this here. For the last 2,000 years.
Well, but the waves was only for 1,000 years.
Out of 3,000, right?
Yeah. Oh. I think he's talking about the Black Ogier, not necessarily the...
Oh, I guess my theory being that Ishmael showed up 1,000 years after the breaking, founds the Black Ogier, or organizes it better.
Right.
And all of a sudden the ways start falling apart.
Oh, the ways, it's another 1,000 years before they start falling apart.
Oh, that long? Oh, yeah.
They're operational for 2,000.
2,000.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Yep. So, he basically, he comes out, his first 1,000 years, organizes the Aes Sedai. His second 1,000 years, he does the Trolloc War.
Yeah.
And the third 1,000 years is now. The third 1,000? 3,000 years? Yeah. There's one quote here. Only now change blows on the winds of time.
I like that.
Yeah. It's an Ishmael quote. I don't have a lot of context for that, but it's just a good quote from him. Time, winds, change. All the things that are dragon related.
Rand wakes up, stabbed again a little bit with a big piece of wood, or not a big piece of wood, but a splinter through his hand. And he wakes up with Mat saying he had picked up his own figure. And now Ishmael knows who he is. That Mat's Mat.
Right. And of course, Rand picked up the sword, and even if Perrin didn't indicate anything by process of elimination,
yeah,
he knows who all three of them are.
Perrin is the only one who probably didn't.
Yeah, I can see him. Well, how protected is he still by the wolves? He has this dream, right?
I assume so, but I don't think it's actually directly...
Because Perrin's not in the room with them.
Yeah, or he isn't mentioned in this scene. Right, because Rand gets up, Mat says he had picked up his own figure, and then they're kind of talking and freaking out a little, and Moiraine walks over.
I'm skipping ahead a little bit to the next chapter.
Yeah.
But there's a quote right in the beginning where Perrin shows up, and he's almost as calm as the warder.
Oh, yeah.
And that's right after the dream. So I think Perrin didn't have this dream. I think the wolves protected him, because he's not showing any... That sentence, he's almost as calm as the warder, means he didn't just go through one of these Dreamshard nightmares.
No, not alone anyway.
Yeah, I think he was protected.
Mat says he knows who I am, the Dark One knows my face, and Moraine's asking what's wrong, and I just have like the last two paragraphs. Rand held up his hand wordlessly, palm toward her. Even in the shadowed light from the one candle, the blood was plain. The Aes Sedai stepped forward and grasped his upheld hand, her thumb across his palm covering the wound. Cold pierced him to the bone, so chill that his fingers cramped and he had to fight to keep them open. When she took her fingers away, the chill went too. Hurry, she said softly. Time grows very short. He knew she was not speaking of the time for their leaving anymore.
The only thing I had to say about that is just keeping an eye out for when Moiraine channels and whether Rand's detecting it with goosebumps. It's the cold of healing. It doesn't seem to be the cold of detecting channeling.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's not being mentioned or if it...
Yeah, I don't think it's really necessary because she's overtly channeling in the scene. Couldn't miss it. He even kind of gasps and is amazed by, this is the first time he's ever had like a physical injury healed, or seen one, I think, even healed.
Other than all the stuff Nynaeve did with him growing up.
Right, but I guess he didn't think that was channeling, even though it was.
Well, and she heals differently.
You know what I was wondering? Recently, that scene a couple chapters back where Nynaeve sees Perrin and he's all like beaten, like after having been beaten up by the White Cloaks for days. And she does the thing with the salve and his bruise like disappears. And Moiraine is standing there and she knows a little bit about healing. And what I was wondering is if Nynaeve already knows the new weaves for healing. If she's already using them.
I assume she is using...
I would like to think so. And I guess just what I was thinking is that if Nynaeve is using those new weaves, Moiraine knows already.
Yeah, I get the feeling that what she's doing is very much like a Wilder talent. And so maybe even though it works, Moiraine might not realize just how effective it is.
After a long conversation with our patrons in Discord, we are going to start on chapter 43. Oh, shit.
Nope.
It's 44.
We just did chapter
Couple
43.
pages.
So. Unless you want to do 43 for a third time.
After that long segue, it's really cool to sit here and talk to everyone. We're just talking about different fantasy novels that we're into. Talked a lot about Mistborn and Mistborn, Dune, the new Oathbreaker. That's
Oathkeeper?
I thought it was Breaker. All the Brandon Sanderson stuff.
Yeah. Oh, well, first of all, Oathbringer. We're getting into chapter 44, The Dark Along the Ways. And the symbol here is the Vienda Sora leaf.
That's right. I have the first couple of lines here I liked. In the darkness just before dawn, Rand followed Moiraine down to the back hall, where Master Gil and the others were waiting. Nynaeve and Egwene as anxiously as Loial. Perrin, almost as calm as the warder, which is something we talked a little bit about at the end of the last episode when we were talking about the dream that Rand and Matt are definitely pulled into, one of Ishmael's dream shards. But Perrin seems not as jittery as everyone else.
Right. He doesn't seem like he's been affected in the same way by the dream.
Yeah, and so we suspect that is because the dreams aren't affecting Perrin in the same way anymore.
Well, he's got the protection of the wolves.
Yeah, he's either not getting pulled into them or he's being protected when he is.
Sometimes it's hard to pick up those things between chapters. I like that we caught that one. Some of the later books have fewer chapters, but they're quite a bit longer, and they have multiple points of view in them. And so I feel like in some of the later books, we may have to do like 2 episodes per chapter because they are quite a bit longer.
Totally.
Yeah.
A lot of these are really short chapters. And I definitely had that memory when we were first started this. I was like, but what about those like 100-pagers? Like when there's like a 150-page prologue, like we're going to have to break those up.
But it's not even that. It's just some chapters are like 33 pages, whereas these are like 16, 17.
Yeah.
And that's like twice the length.
Yeah.
And there's like multiple perspectives, stuff like that. We'll see.
We'll see when we get there.
Yeah. My favorite line here is Loial saying, "I am an Ogier, not a cat."
I don't see why we can't have just one light.
But I have to wonder if maybe Jordan didn't base him on a cat, like
They're
a pet cat.
Sort of cat-like their ears and the wide nose. I don't know. I don't really know.
He may have taken inspiration from a cat.
Yeah.
That's just a thought, and that may be a little in joke. I'm probably reading too much into that line.
There's a fan art of an Ogier that I posted on the Instagram account a while back, like when in the chapter where we first meet Loial, and that's probably my favorite representation. The ears are definitely cat-like.
I would hesitate to draw a parallel between Ogier and Trollocs, other than size-wise. Trollocs are corrupted human souls, whereas Ogier are something else entirely from another world.
They're human and animal souls, right? I mean, they're big. I get it. Like I you can see a sort of similarity,
right? And with Trollocs, you can always identify which animal features they have. Their animal features sort of tacked on to humans, whereas in Ogier, the features are natural. They're just a little animal-like.
Some of them are a little cat-like. Well, I mean, and by that I mean some of fan art.
Authors always like to put their favorite animals into their books and make them characters. And I always wonder if maybe, you take some of that really fierce and Loial characteristic that Loial has. And cats do like Aes Sedai, and Loyal's always talking about how much you don't want to anger Aes Sedai.
Yeah, Ogier seemed to be cool with Aes Sedai.
Yeah.
So we see our party leaving the inn and come up to the pack horses, talk about bulky wicker panniers. I have this here. There was a pack horse, bulky with wicker panniers, and a huge animal with hairy fetlocks, taller even than the Warder Stallion, for Loial. It looked big enough to pull a loaded hay wain by itself, but compared with the Ogier, it seemed a pony. I liked that.
I always enjoy that image of Loial riding a horse that's just gigantic but looks really tiny to him.
Yeah.
And like his feet are always dangling down. Everyone's like, that's huge.
His toes are scraping the ground. We see Master Gil confer with his head groom, who's apparently been keeping a lookout, and says the way is clear for them to sneak through the back alley and out into Camelin to go find the Waygate.
And they're sneaking out because they've got the White Cloaks looking for them. They've got Elida looking for them. Fain is trying to find them. Like, they are just ready to get the hell out. And they have to because they are cornered, basically.
This is their big chance to disappear.
I like this quote where Moiraine tells the innkeeper to write to Jeriam Sedai if he has any trouble. And I'm like, yeah, if you have any trouble with like dark friends. And I'm like, that's a dark friend you're writing to. Just one of those little.
I'd almost forgotten that. Is she the one that's in charge of the Blue Aja's eyes and ears?
No.
At this point, now that Suwan is
she's the mistress of the novices.
Shiriam?
Yeah.
Jeez. Gotcha. I guess more to send money in case another inn gets burned down because Moiraine was there.
Exactly. And she's just, she's of the Blue Aja. And they're of the same Aja. But I always enjoy, one of the things I really am excited to do is point out all the Black Aja, the Dark Friends, as we come across them. And so... Yeah,
we're kind of just getting into that. We haven't run into that many important Dark Friends yet.
No. I mean, really, not the ones we all know about, Fain.
The ones everyone knows about.
The ones who are actually working in secret. It's going to be fun to look at them as Dark Friends from the very beginning.
We're here to drop the serious spoilers.
Exactly. So I wrote in big caps in my notes, Black Aja alert.
And we see this long scene here where they're kind of snaking through these streets and Loial's guiding them towards the Waygate.
Do you know why Ogier can sense the ways?
I don't. I was going to ask, is he sensing the ways? Or like, is he sensing the Waygate?
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely is.
Or does he just know where it is?
No, he senses them. He says that he can't explain how he does it. It's like trying to explain how you breathe.
Loial is
just do it.
A tree singer, and you have to be a tree singer to grow a Waygate.
But I think all Ogier can sense it.
Logan Hills is asking if he can sense the Ogier Grove, but the Ogier Grove isn't there anymore.
Yeah. No, he specifically says he can sense the Waygate itself.
At least in Camelin, the grove isn't there.
He knows where the groves are supposed to be.
I'm going to say it's probably something to do with tree singing. And we know Loial has the talent, so could grow a Waygate if he wanted to with the proper terangrial.
And the Waygates are definitely described as something living. That's how you're able to grow. Is they are alive in a sense. So maybe it's his sense of growing living things is leading him to the Waygate.
Yeah.
But again, this is one of the bigger mysteries, I think, in the series are the Ogier and all the ideas behind them.
There's not a ton of information on the Ogier. There's a little.
I really would like to know more about the Book of Translation and their sense of Waygates and the singing. And we get all these hints and these questions about the people, but we just never get good answers.
I just looked around online to see if there's anything in Theoryland. Nothing's popping out at me.
Add this to the list of things we need to ask Sanderson if we ever get to interview him.
Yeah.
What is up with the Ogier? Where are they from? How do they sense the ways?
This is an open-ended question.
What role do they play in the last battle, other than just being good troops?
The best, maybe.
Oh, yeah, they're amazing. They have bark for skin, essentially.
So we see Loial guide the party through these series of dark, winding alleyways. Looks like they scare the crap out of a homeless guy at some point.
Hold on.
Huh.
I wonder if Ogier are part plant.
I mean, they definitely have that affinity thing going.
He calls the green man tree brother. Anyway, sorry, just random thought. Keep going. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
I like it. Loial finds it, points to a building, and basically says it's underneath that building. And Matt's under, Matt exclaimed incredulously. How in the light can we? And Moiraine says, well, we'll find a cellar door. And so basically, after the groves were destroyed a long time ago, there have been like layers of buildings put on top of each other over, well, who knows?
Centuries.
I'm not sure when the Ogier groves in Camelin were cut down, but many, many generations.
Of people.
Yeah.
Not that many generations of Ogier.
Right.
It's been cut down and it's ended up in the basement, in the cellar. And it was used, I think, as part of the foundation, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, since nothing can destroy a Waygate, that's a pretty decent, way to use it.
Moiraine uses channels a bit of earth to unlock the cellar door, and they walk in and they see that the Waygate's part of a wall.
Right, it's been built into the wall.
There's all this crummy brick around and this beautiful piece of stonework. As far as the settings go, Seth and I have talked about this a bit, and our theory is that the setting are part of another world or a place where two different worlds touch, so that the setting really aren't a part of Ramland. They're its own place. That's our theory. And also, in the same way, the Ogier are not from Ramland. They're from one of the portal worlds, say. Which is why they have this book of translation where they can eventually leave and go home. We assume that means to some other world.
Again, I just made a note that there's no shiver or goosebumps or anything when she's channeling to unlock the...
It's not mentioned, at least.
It's not mentioned that he senses her embracing the one power.
As she moved to one of the walls, this is Moiraine, Rand realized that the wall was different from the others. They were ordinary brick. This was an intricately worked stone, fanciful swirls of leaves and vines, pale even under its coat of dust. The brick and mortar were old, but something about the stone said it had stood there long before the brick was fired. Later builders, themselves centuries gone, had incorporated what had already stood, and still later men had made it part of a cellar.
I used to go to a bar in Philly that was a lot like that, called Sugar Mama's.
Yeah.
It was an old sugar factory.
Oh, cool.
That they'd converted into a bar, and the basement just had these massive brick columns that were wider at the bottom than they were at the top, and the tables were all around the columns.
Oh, that's cool.
It was a really neat basement bar. Used to get way too drunk there. I think I got kicked out a couple times. They don't like it when you pass out on the piano.
Oh, God.
There's at least when I was there was an old, one of the tables was just an old piano they'd converted into a table.
That's a good point. Logan is saying in the companion it says that Ogier can sense evil if it's strong enough, and maybe that has something to do with how Loial can find the ways. Ogier do seem like they're sensitive to those sorts of things, so it's not really
Definitely.
a surprise that they can sense them. I wonder if all Ogier can do it or just some.
Sense evil?
The ways.
The ways. Yeah, I mean, not all Ogier know how to navigate them. They have to study the signs.
Yeah.
But I think all Ogier can find the ways. Think they're all attuned to it?
I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
We don't get to meet that many Ogier and have a lot of time with them in the books,
But doesn't Elder Haman help them find the ways to close them?
I'm going to continue reading this description because it's a good one.
Yeah.
Even though he just talks a bunch in the middle of it. One part of the carved stone wall, right in the center, was more elaborate than the rest. As well done as the rest was, it appeared a crude copy in comparison. Worked in hard stone, those leaves seemed soft, caught in one frozen moment as a gentle summer breeze stirred them. For all of that, they had the feel of age, as much greater than the rest of the stone, as the rest was older than the brick.
That is a confusing... What they're saying is that the ways are as much older than the old parts of the building as the old parts of the building are older than the somewhat newer parts of the building.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That old and more. Loial looked at them as if he would rather be anywhere else but there, even out in the streets with another mob. Moiraine says the leaf of the tree of life is the key to the ways.
It's the only trefoil leaf on the whole wall.
She says the leaf of the tree of life is the key, the Aes Sedai said, and the leaf came away in her hand. Rand blinked. From behind him, he heard gasps. I just kind of wanted to read this because it's a super cool scene. I don't have much more in this chapter after that.
I don't have many notes,
Yeah.
Just cool descriptions.
Yeah, exactly. That leaf had seemed no less a part of the wall than any other. Just as simply, the Aes Sedai set it against the pattern a handspan lower. The three-pointed leaf fit there as if the space had been intended for it, and once more, it was part of the whole. As soon as it was in place, the entire nature of the central stonework changed. He was sure now that he could see the leaves ruffled by some unfelt breeze. He almost thought they were verdant, under the dust, a tapestry of thick spring greenery there in the lantern-lit cellar. Almost imperceptibly at first, a split opened up in the middle of the ancient carving, widening as the two halves slowly swung into the cellar until they stood straight out. The backs of the gates were worked as the fronts, the same profusion of vines and leaves, almost alive. Behind, where should have been dirt or the cellar of the next building, a dull reflective shimmering faintly caught their images. I have heard, Loial said, half mourning, half fearful, that once the Waygates shone like mirrors. Once, who entered the ways, walked through the sun and the sky. Once. We have no time for waiting, Moiraine said. It's a great visual.
It is. Like, I'm trying to think of some better way to talk about it other than be like, yeah, it looks like that. You know, like I kind of think of it as like a mirror behind a curtain of ivy. And when you put the Avienda Sora leaf in the right place, the curtain sort of parts and there's a mirror behind it.
Yeah.
And that it's now all like dark and dingy and dusty from the taint. Whereas once it used to literally shine like a mirror.
It's black, like I imagine like oil.
Yeah, like an oil slick on the...
You stick your hand in it and you can't see your hand on the other side of the surface.
Yeah.
Which I think is actually in the description somewhere further along here. That you, as you go into it, you can't see yourself on the other side.
No, because like even if when it was mirror, when it was shiny like a mirror, it still just was your reflection. It's like walking into your own reflection. Only here it's black, and so there is no reflection. It's just opaque. Yeah. I sort of think of it as like diving into a pool of oil.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Tar pit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have another little part highlighted. This is Loial talking about the Waygates themselves, I believe when they're on the other side of the Waygate, when they walk through.
Yeah.
And he says, you could walk all the way around it, and you would not see a thing from the other side. I would not advise it, though. The books aren't very clear about what lies behind Waygates. I think you could become lost there and never find your way out. And I just thought it was a nice description of this sort of bizarre place where physics doesn't work, where that they're in right now.
Sure.
And he says, like, you could walk all the way around, but I don't know what's on the other side.
You know, that sort of reminds me of another question I always had. What does the back of a gateway look like?
Nobody knows.
No, not a waygate. Like when someone opens a gateway.
Oh. Like, can you walk around it in a circle? I would assume so.
You can, but what does the other side look like? Are you looking through? Do you see here? Do you see there? Do you see nothing?
That's a great question. Because we know when you open it and you look through, you see where you're
the
going.
other side, yeah.
But if you were to walk around to the other side, do you see the same thing?
Yeah.
I always kind of assumed it's just the same thing. But I have
in my head somewhere that somebody asked Jordan that question and that he said it was opaque.
Okay.
But no idea where I read that or if I could find it again. You can always look in one direction. The question is, what if you went to the other side?
Right.
Like, not like go through the Waygate and look back. That you're able to see where you came from. But if you walk around the Waygate without going through it and look at the back side of it,
not a Waygate, a
Sorry, Gateway.
Gateway, yeah.
Do I keep saying Waygate instead of Gateway? Sorry about that.
It's the same, but the words are just reversed.
I know. And they are two totally different existing things in the series.
Yeah, I never even thought of that before.
So, and then the other thing that Loial says is you have to be really careful when you enter a Waygate because time moves differently. Because like Rand like stumbles through and he's like,
oh, right.
Oh, you have to be careful coming through a Waygate. And I'm like, yeah, that's good to know now that you're already through it. You think you could have used that information when we were still outside? Bad timing. Like, what is he going to tell everybody when they come through? Oh, yeah, don't run.
Silly humans always rushing around because their lives are so short, trying to get as much done as possible. A good little exchange between Loial and Lan. The wheel turns faster in the ways. This is what you were just saying. Loial explained. He looked at the darkness surrounding them, and his head sank between his shoulders. None alive know more than fragments. I fear what I don't know about the ways, Rand. The Dark One, Lan said, cannot be defeated without chancing risks, but we are alive at this moment, and before us is the hope of remaining alive. Do not surrender before you are beaten, Ogier.
Ah, such a great Lan line.
Lanism. Can we start calling them that?
Lanism? Yeah.
Landlines?
Landlines? I like landlines.
Landlines?
Yeah. Oh, I ended up today on a page of Linny sayings.
Oh, those are good.
There were a lot of them.
Yeah, she's a good character.
She says a lot. And like, I guess she doesn't say a lot of them. A lot of them come from other characters quoting her.
Yeah. She's not in that many. She doesn't have that much of her own.
No, she's in Morgaze's
There's a little
POV.
when Elaine is like reuniting or the secession wars. Is that how you say that? Secession?
That's how you say it, yeah.
I forget.
Secession.
Yeah.
Secession, yeah.
Secede.
I before E, except after C. I don't know.
Yeah, then we kind of see everyone enter the gate, and they go to like the first few islands, and Rand describes the crazy, like how things are breaking the rules. I forget if it's in this chapter or the next one, but Rand describes where he's walking on an incline for a long time, and then eventually comes around to, I'm motioning to Seth, making an arc with my hand, and then eventually he walks on this incline for like a really long time, and then they end up on an island again and go somewhere else. And I'm imagining that it's just walking along a crescent, but he can't see.
Oh, I didn't picture it that way.
And he kind of thinks like, no, that's impossible. Like, how could we? And when he thinks like, is this island directly above the last one we were at? And I think it is.
So you're
like
sort of
that
doing
image.
it like a
MC Escher painting or something.
Yeah, like someone's walking basically on the inside of a planet, and so their feet are down, and then he's like walking along the curve, and then when he stops, he's upside down from where he was before.
Right.
I always pictured it as a spiral up like a parking garage without any supports, and that the next island is directly above the island below it, but it's in no way supported.
That would also fit the description.
And so I kind of like your idea of the almost like
it's just a bizarre,
kind of like in 2001: A Space Odyssey when they're walking around inside the ship and they like walk around the inside and they end up with their feet on the ceiling and then they just change their perspective.
Yeah,
that would be that's a cool way to picture this. I'd never thought of it that way.
But he's still standing right side up, if there is such a thing as right side up in the ways.
Sure. I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and read that description with that thought in mind.
That's just the way I imagined it.
Yeah.
And then I just have the last paragraph as usual that brings us into the next chapter. Then the silence was broken by a startled grunt from Loial as they were walking along through the ways. Rand stood in his stirrups to peer past the Ogier and swallowed hard at what he saw. They were in the middle of a bridge, and only a few feet ahead of Loial, the bridge ended in a jagged gap. So we see the ways falling apart. Oh, Noble Fiend posted, and I think this is an actual MC Escher.
Yeah.
This is the way I sort of imagine it, except on a big scale, you know?
Right.
I saw like fan art of the ways the other day when I'm always looking around to find these pictures that I post for Instagram and Facebook and stuff.
There's way more fan art out there than I thought there was initially.
Me too. I thought I was going to run out eventually and have to like post pictures of like just what I thought things looked like.
Sure.
But I haven't run out. I'm not even close. There's like some images that I'm just waiting to post at an appropriate time because there's some really good ones.
Well, because there's so many scenes that have been drawn, and then if that scene occurs in the chapter we're talking about, that's a perfect time to post it. I think I've seen you do a couple of those, or like when we introduce a character and you like post the character sketch because they're introduced in that chapter. I really like what you do with the Instagram account.
I have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
There's one of a Ogier, like a gardener, like a Shan Ogier gardener. The Ogier in full armor with a big weapon, and it's a good one.
Yeah,
but that's not going to come up for a while.
No,
so I'll just hang on to it.
I mean, I guess book 2 we do encounter the Shan.
Yeah, do we see gardeners?
I don't know.
Well, it's a picture. The one I'm thinking of is a picture of a drawing of a gardener standing next to a human soldier. So it could still be appropriate.
We could use it. Now, I think isn't that from Diablo 2?
Oh, yeah. That's the one I was talking about. Is that from Diablo 2? It looks like it could be now that you say that.
Do you remember that
Is it where you like walk to the edge of the platform and there's gateways that you walk your character through and you end up in like a random new place and you have to like figure out the pattern?
Mm-hmm. There were like 4 directions and each direction had a slightly different pattern to it. And the boss was only at the end of one of them.
Yeah. I remember being annoyed
totally
and that taking forever to figure out or walk through the right gateway.
I mentioned that was a fun one though if you were like a wizard or the archer. It was the good
Amazon?
distance.
I never played as the Amazon.
The Amazon was I played them all.
Yeah. Well, I liked the patch. Like when I first moved out to Portland, I listened to the Wheel of Time audiobooks and I did a playthrough of the Necromancer and a playthrough of they were like the newer characters.
Yeah,
and a playthrough of the Druid. Those were fun.
Those were actually good ones. I thought the Necromancer already existed. I thought the new one was Paladin was always my go-to character. Yeah. I enjoy whacking things with swords.
I played the Sorceress. That was my first. When it first came out, I played online and stuff. I didn't play online in this last time.
Yeah. I was too much of a tank. I just like running into the middle of them and just whacking. And like if you're a sorceress, you just die over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So
what you do, you just find a funnel point where they have to come around a corner and you just blast. That's what I would do.
Yeah. I don't like running away.
Run in, run out, blast, 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 run in, and keep doing that.
I just like the run in. Smash, 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 smash.
Necromancer was fun because you could just resurrect things as your stuff killed it.
Yeah.
But that's how I played the Necromancer.
I found that one boring because I just like watched I had all my goons fight all of their goons and I was just like sorting through treasure.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
You can just kind of walk into rooms and not worry about it if you build the character right.
Right. And I guess that's the fun part is the character building.
Yeah, totally.
And the armor and weapon getting, which is basically just gambling.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's just like it's my first form of gambling I ever got addicted to.
Gambling with time.
Yep. Well, and just like you'd make like runs at the hell runs and beat the bad guy and just try and get some like better equipment. So you'd invest like an hour of your time to
the like cow level.
Yeah.
You remember the cow level?
Oh god, yeah. The exploding cows.
Yeah. Was that only online? Did you?
No, what it was, I think it was you had to keep the bone to the end of the game, and after you beat the game, you put the bone in the cube, or the leg in the cube, and you could like a new portal. Yeah. And the portal took you to the cow. It was like a very specific set of...
You can only do it once.
You could only do it once, and it was a very specific set of like things you had to do, and you had to play through the whole game and get a particular item that was useless and save it the whole game. And storage space was such a problem. So we haven't really recorded in a while.
Yeah, we skipped 1 week, and last week was just...
Not every week is a success.
That's happened before.
Yeah.
I was just like, my brain's not clicking today. I'm not clicking into the track today.
In the meantime, you've got a new laptop.
That's true. I don't know... Was last week the first time that I brought it? Maybe it was.
Yeah, I think so. It's a nice Lenovo.
Yeah, it's an IdeaPad. I found it... Lenovo IdeaPad. I found it for I found a crazy cheap deal for it. I just started shopping and I was like, holy crap, for that price, and I bought it then.
So you're saying it was an impulse buy?
More or less.
You were looking for a computer to buy.
Yeah.
But this particular one was
I just
definitely...
didn't expect to find such a good deal. It's like a Amazon rebuild type thing used, but it knocks $300-$400 off the price if someone's already owned it.
Oh,
which is brings it from a huge purchase to just a pretty big purchase.
What's it like having a computer again? Do you have Wi-Fi in your place?
I haven't set it up yet, but my friend that's going to rent my extra room for a couple months wants to set it up, so I'll probably do it. I've just been using my phone as a hotspot.
Oh, okay.
And it doesn't really... I don't run anything crazy, other than pretty much Discord and surfing around on a browser. Reddit.
So you're not torrenting over your
No. Crossed my mind, but
Netflix.
It's I probably shouldn't torrent through my own phone number. That's probably pretty trackable. Yeah, since the last time I was did very much big downloads like that, stuff has changed a little. There's a lot more privacy software, but there's really not that much out there that I really want anyway.
Most of it I get through just streaming sites, but every once in a while there's something that I can't seem to get my hands on through a legitimate way, and then I'll resort to torrenting if I have to.
Yeah. I had a friend give me their Netflix passwords. They got that, and I was like, dude, I don't know if I want to save this on my computer. It's going to turn into a huge time suck. I'm going to get into some show, spend a whole day watching it.
Netflix? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I started to look at Amazon Prime. They've got a few shows out there.
Yeah. I still want to watch that show Westworld that you suggested. It's on HBO, right?
Yeah.
Oh, John Michael likes Westworld too.
Everybody does who sees it. It's amazing.
All right. I'll do it. I mean, not pay for HBO, just find some other way.
Yeah.
What is it $20 a month?
I think it's closer to 10.
10?
Yeah.
I'll look into it. And Julia have been doing a lot of sitting around watching movies.
It's definitely something I do more with other people than by myself.
Totally.
Jeff says it's 15.
Yeah, she has a huge DVD collection too.
That's nice.
Yeah, super old school.
I don't have physical media really anymore.
Yeah.
Except the Wheel of Time, of course.
Books. Yeah.
Books.
Still do that.
Although most of those are currently being loaned out right now. Oh, did I tell you a guy at work started reading The Eye of the World?
No, I don't think you mentioned that.
Yeah, I just saw him carrying it, and I was like, oh, hey, that's The Eye of the World. And he was like, yeah.
Yes,
and I was like,
it is, sir.
Haven't I told you about my podcast? Because I had it up on the board, the big board in work, He's like, oh, yeah. Yeah, I knew that. I was like, okay, let's talk about it.
Nice. Is it his first read-through?
Yeah. So I'm just keeping up. Right now he's just getting to Shadar Logoth, so he's a little behind where we are now, but it's fun to see him, experiencing it for the first time.
Yeah.
I love introducing nerds to the Wheel of Time for the first time because, they love Tolkien. They've loved Harry Potter. They've really enjoyed Game of Thrones and are frustrated that it's not over. And I'm like, well, how about a series like that is over?
Yeah.
But better.
I mean, if you can get through Tolkien, I feel like you can get through anything. The Tolkien stuff is probably my least favorite of all the epic fantasy.
I think
I don't want to knock it, but I don't know. It just didn't blow up for me, It's like, yeah, this is all right.
It's the writing style for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love the story, but the style is very hard to sit down and read for an extended period of time.
Been meaning to. And Jules is a big fan, so I'm probably going to end up doing it.
Yeah. They're good books. Better movies.
I turn 30 in 2 weeks. 10 days.
30?
Yeah.
Are you doing a party?
Nah.
Are we going
You
to
want
the
to get
bar?
a beer or something?
Yeah.
Sure. I never like have a party. I'm not really
Yeah, so probably by the time this releases, it'll pretty much be your birthday.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Although we've been with the missing the last couple of weeks. I only have one episode in the bag that I'm working on, and then whatever we record tonight.
Tonight we should have 2.
So tonight we should have 2. So this one will probably come out early next week.
I just looked. I'm working on my birthday.
Oh, what about the day after?
It's a Wednesday. The day after is Thursday, so I'll be here.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll just we'll do a special birthday episode.
Cool.
A very special episode of the Wheel of Time spoilers.
I don't know what we would do for that, but
get drunker.
sounds all right. Buy some whiskey. I somehow ironically or counterintuitively, I work at this crazy busy restaurant and I'm often go out and stuff, but for some reason at house parties and densely packed rooms, you know what though? I'll go out to the bar and hang around, and if it starts to get busy, I leave.
Yeah.
That's my style. I don't really want to, I don't know. I like going out, but not to, so I never have my own parties.
I mean,
maybe I'm not so into being the center of attention. I don't know what that is.
Yeah. I think it's just too many people.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're readers.
It gets chaotic.
There's too much pressure on me when I have a party in my honor. I have to greet people and make sure they're having a good time. It's I dread getting married because it's going to be such not something where I don't want to be there, but everyone else will.
A couple people in a room I'm totally cool with. For some reason, once it gets to more than that, if there's more than 2 conversations going, 3 even, that's where I call it. All right, guys, looks like the party's going good, so I'm going home. See ya. My landlord only accepts green rectangles.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Rate us in the Apple Podcast app or support us on Patreon. Is that good enough?